Hello, this is the continuation of the speedrun. This is going to show off some of the paid content, and it's edited for length. It's not quite as long as that last video. I just want to kind of compromise between showing the highlights of this stuff and not giving it all away. So this first mission here at Exodus Station, you have to collect that creeping crap, which is this environmental hazard that spawns around the galaxy. When you're done collecting it, you gotta flush it down this wormhole. So that's what's happening right there. In the course of doing this, you actually get pulled into a wormhole, and you are sent into the digestive tract of this giant wormhole worm type thing. While you're in there, you meet this friendly fellow who helps you out and shows you the ropes, how to survive inside this thing. You also help him out. It's kind of a mutual survival situation. Set some traps for food, that kind of thing. I don't want to give too much of it away. This is a fun little series of missions, and I've got some plans on paper for expanding this series of missions here. There's some fun stuff that will probably be added to this before the game is released. Right now it goes by really quickly. I'm not satisfied with the length of this mission chain here. Here you are mining for methane, as it is called in this mission. And after that, you move on to the next area. You're in this nice little area with swirly stuff and little floating preformant craps are in your way and preventing you from jumping out, so you have to kind of clear a little jump window before you can leave. In the next area, you are kind of stuck in this gelatinous goo that's leaking into your ship, so you have to apply this emergency survival tape to stop your ship from leaking, because it's nasty green crap. And that goes by pretty quickly, and you move on to the next area, which is pretty much the end of the mission hub here. You have to ignite some of this volatile matter, which sends you hurtling out of this worm's backside, presumably, and back into normal space. And those are the highlights from that. You move on to, you can do it really in any order you want, but you go to this next area where you meet the Fanatics. You have to infiltrate their organization, and you end up running some errands for them, and it's actually different kind of it's actually a controversial mission hub for reasons you will see shortly. Part of the initiation process for this religious group is that you have to actually die and become reborn, and they don't mean that metaphorically. You actually you are destroyed by these entity things here, and you end up being reborn, and somehow, miraculously, you also get a new ship in the process. This new ship type is permanently added to your shipyard, and it's a pretty cool little ship. It's fast. But after the whole rebirthing process, you are sent off to run some errands. I thought it would be cool to have a mission that had an objective of you dying. You don't see a lot of that. So that's different. You're sent out here to distribute these brochures. They're exploding everywhere and being dispersed to the poor souls of this planet. But the enforcers who live here don't like it very much, so you have to take care of them. And there's a few missions like this. You're sent from location to location to distribute brochures and do different things at each location. Yeah, so ultimately you end this little series of distributing pamphlet missions with collecting some recruits to bring back, and that kind of figures into the story of this mission hub. Some not good things happen to these poor recruits when you get back. So yeah, there's a lot of wormhole travel here because the locations are really far apart, and it's just kind of a shortcut to go from place to place. So some stuff happens that I didn't show because I want it to be fun first time you play it. It's not actually going to show the terrible things that happen to those volunteers. But in the eyes of the fanatics, it's a cause for celebration. So here you are, preparing for a party. You are activating those little orbital party ball things and distributing delicious refreshments to partygoers, and those refreshments may or may not contain cyanide. And it kind of leads into the next series here, where you have to confiscate those drinks that you were just handing out because it's a mass suicide ceremony. You have to break your cover and confiscate those drinks, and those party balls you activated are actually nukes that you have to disarm. So you're kind of undoing what you just did. And there are a few missions in Zigfrak like that where you do something and then you have to go back and undo it because for some reason the thing you were doing is bad. So after you confiscate those flavored drinks and disarm the nuclear party balls, you have kind of the boss fight of the Fanatics Hub, which is to face off against the original guy who recruited you and kill him as many times as it takes, because he gets reborn. He can kind of come back to life after you kill him, so you have to kill him as many times as it takes. And he's got these little ads, these little eyes out here that fire lasers of death at you. Helps to kill them too. And this is another mission where you have to be kind of quick. You have to use, you have to grab power-ups and use your mining laser and shield disruptor and whatnot. But yeah, kill him. Move on to this stuff where you get to meet one of the 5 warlords. This guy's name is Warlord Fu, and he's got kind of a arrangement with the Freerunners where he's providing like ships and whatnot for them, but they have to send a guy every so often to do some errands, help him out, lend a hand. The first thing that Fu asks you to do is to handle this minefield which has been deployed around his station. There's a few different ways you can defuse the mines. There are like 4 different variants, something like that. Some of the mines you can shoot, some of the mines you bring into your inventory and defuse them there. Some of them you interact with at a distance. And it doesn't really matter how you do it. This next one, I think, is this is one of my favorite little missions here. It's totally different from anything else in the game. All you have to do is target these disabled craft, and these little bots that are flying around with you, they will take care of your current target. And there's 2 different kinds of bots. The first one will harvest certain body parts from the poor fool in the ship, and the next one kind of gets rid of the evidence by blowing the ship up. And you get to maintain plausible deniability by not actually having to do it yourself. These bots are just following your targets. I like that one. And there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't get shown here. The mission hub here ends off with this Lung Fu fighting. First you ring the gong, as you saw there, and that signals the beginning of the games. You have to survive the games. To become the Lung Fu champion, it's kind of a tricky mission. You have to actually disable the other contestants and loot certain parts from them without destroying them, and you also have to kill them for good measure, but the only way to get those parts is to disable and dock and loot them. You have to be kind of quick on the draw too, because they're trying to do the exact same thing you are. You're in competition for those parts, and you're on a green team. Your green teammates will help you out. They're looting stuff on your behalf. This next mission hub, this is the next part here. It's a completely different hub. You get captured by the enforcers. You're sent out here to disable these propaganda stations and deploy these counter psyops nodes, as they're called. But in the course of doing that, you are captured. This guy comes out of nowhere, disables your ship, and puts you in a tractor beam, and you are sent for re-education. You are judged and deemed to be enemy of the state, but they take pity on you, and instead of executing you, they reprogram you. And the way they do that is with this cerulean blue. It's a very addictive color. It's why all the enforcers are so obedient, because they're under the influence of this wonderful color that they can't get enough of. So after you've been brainwashed here, you think that you're an enforcer, and from your perspective, the enforcers are now green, the free runners are red, and you're one of them. You have to distribute synthetic bacon as your first task. It's one of their favorite little tasty snacks. Each one of those guys wants something different from you in return for your friendship. So you have to make some friends. After you make some friends, they test out your combat ability, and you have to take out some of these holographic targets, which goes by pretty quick. Your training is cut short due to this emergency in a nearby system. You have to come out here and deal with this basically shitstorm situation. There are free runners and xenoids and enforcers all duking it out here. And right here it's just kind of showing some of the action that's going on around you. For the most part, these guys won't target you. They're fighting each other, and you can't target them either, because there's just so many of them that having to target through all of these guys would just be crazy, trying to find the thing you're supposed to target. So the things that you can target out here are things that you're supposed to be able to target at the time. Start off with placing tracking devices on these disabled freerunner craft, and yeah, you can loot them too while you're at it. They've got some fuel in there, it looks like. So yeah, plant some tracking devices, and then the next section, the next part, will have you fighting some xenoids, and it's kind of tricky. The xenoids in this part, they have recharging shields, so you have to be kind of quick to dispatch them. To kill some of them, and there's some research looting opportunity there along the way. Rack up some points. Once you're done killing those guys, you fly around and you render aid to the disabled enforcer carriers, and it's pretty similar to the first part. It's just you're helping friendlies instead of doing bad things to enemies. But it's using that default loot action there in the corner. Or default use action, I should say. And then the next part, you are given control of this arsenal of nukes. The nukes are big and slow, so they're giving them to you to take care of these large xenoid ships. And in the next part, I will show that off, and also the remaining content.